Hey there everyone, welcome back to Black Belt Breakthroughs. Here we blend science-backed tools with amazing techniques like mindfulness, NLP, and visualization to help you take charge of your mind and enhance your everyday life. I'm Will Deek, a professor and passionate martial arts practitioner studying everything from judo to Tai Chi. I spent years diving into mindfulness, NLP, and visualization, and I've had the pleasure of helping hundreds of clients along their journeys. Now, let's get started on yours with the science behind cell phone addiction and the dopamine trap. What if I told you your smartphone is rewiring your brain every time it buzzes or pings? 10 years ago, you could probably read a book for hours without any type of distraction at all. Now, finishing just 2 pages without checking your phone can seem like a Herculean feat. What changed? Your brain chemistry has been compromised by the science behind your phone. The average person receives over 120 notifications and checks their phone more than 150 times daily. Each of these digital interruptions delivers a tiny dopamine hit, creating an addictive cycle that neuroimaging studies show resembles a substance dependency. Your brain is literally being trained to crave these digital distractions. Since this is affecting nearly every human being on the planet, today I'm breaking down the science behind digital addiction, and I'm giving you a 21-day protocol you can use to reset your brain. Now, your cell phone doesn't provide pleasure by itself. It drives you to seek rewards that are being supplied by dopamine's release. That's why you reach for your phone even when there's no notification, because of chemistry. But here's the fascinating fact about dopamine that most of us get completely wrong. Despite commonly being called the pleasure molecule, your brain uses dopamine to drive you toward rewards. And the surge of dopamine isn't from the reward itself, but from the anticipation of the reward. For example, when you hear a notification sound, your brain releases dopamine in response to the expectation of a message or update, even before you check your phone. This anticipation fuels your desire to keep checking, reinforcing the cycle. That's why the science behind your smartphone and why it creates such a powerful hold on you. This distinction is super important for understanding why your phone has such an addictive grip on your attention span. Think of your smartphone as a dopamine delivery device. Dr. Anna Lembke, chief of Stanford's Addiction Medicine Clinic, calls smartphones the modern-day hypodermic needle. That's pretty intense, right? They're injecting little hits of dopamine through every notification, like, and scroll. That's why you find yourself compulsively checking your cell phone nearly 100 times per day. That's a lot of times per day. But why does it unpredictably make this so powerful? Your brain experiences dopamine prediction error. That's when you check your phone. It's like pulling a slot machine level. You're gambling on the possibility of reward. Maybe there's a text from your crush, or maybe there's nothing at all. Your brain gets caught up in the cycle of anticipation and sometimes reward, sometimes disappointment. This unpredictable pattern actually makes it more addictive, not less. The designers of these apps understand this psychology perfectly. They use variable reward schedules, which are the most addictive pattern possible. Imagine scrolling through social media. Each swipe is like pulling that slot machine handle, never knowing if the post will be amazing or forgettable. Features like infinite scrolling and random notifications, they're not accidents. They're engineered to keep you hooked. The science shows your brain's rewards pathways, they light up almost identically whether you're scrolling through social media or using certain substances like cocaine. Your smartphone combines multiple dopamine triggering experiences in one device, creating what Dr. Justin Romano calls a super addiction. After each dopamine high comes a crash. Your brain adapts to constant stimulation by becoming less sensitive, requiring more digital stimulation to feel satisfied, while normal activities start to feel boring. This can lead to a vicious cycle of increased screen time where you seek out more notifications and likes to achieve the same fleeting reward, further reinforcing addiction and diminishing your ability to enjoy real life experiences. So how can we break free when the world's top engineers are designing a powerful subliminal delivery system that's working against us? By understanding the science and then leveraging it to your benefit. The science reveals why you're checking your phone so often. It's a carefully engineered dopamine manipulation system, and your brain is responding exactly as it was designed to respond. You see, the manipulation goes much deeper than just behavior. Your cell phone is changing the neural architecture of your brain. When researchers compare brain scans of heavy tech users with those of people with substance dependencies, they find disturbing similarities that most cell phone users, they just don't realize. What's happening inside your skull might explain why the quick check of your phone feels less like a choice and more like a compulsion. If you've been paying attention to this channel, then you've heard of neuroplasticity, or your brain's amazing ability to rewire itself based on what you repeatedly do. Since we interact with our cell phones so often, it's rewiring our brains. But the problem with digital devices, it's like renovating your home without a blueprint. Without a clear understanding of the impact these devices have on our cognitive functions, we risk creating an environment that doesn't support our mental well-being. In fact, a 2018 study found that heavy technology users experience actual brain shrinkage in regions critical for decision-making and emotional control. We're talking about physical changes to your gray matter. That's the stuff that makes you, well, you. Every notification and every video, every game is sculpting your neural pathways. Those areas of your prefrontal cortex responsible for self-control, well, they're getting smaller while your dependency pathways are strengthening. Your brain is being remodeled without your permission. The addiction cascade starts with those initial dopamine hits from checking messages, watching videos, or playing games. Over time, your brain develops a tolerance for them, just like it does for a drug like alcohol or heroin. Just like an alcoholic might remember when one drink got the job done, a media addict might think back to when a 10-minute social media binge felt satisfying. But they, like maybe you, might find themselves in an hour spree of videos without even realizing it today. The digital world enables binging on a previously unseen scale, Dr. Limke tells us, because there's no practical limitation forcing us to pause. We're stuck in what she calls a joy-seeking abyss, where normal activities become less enjoyable. A dopamine deficit state where the real world doesn't feel rewarding enough. That's just some of the effects of your phone. Consider this common experience. Have you ever left your phone at home and felt anxious, irritable, or distracted? That's digital withdrawal, a symptom of dependency that mirrors traditional addiction. Even scarier, this digital dependency is linked to rising rates of anxiety, depression, and sleep disruption, all while making it more difficult to focus than ever before. It's not just about habitually picking up your phone. It's also severely affecting your mental health and your overall well-being. So if our brains are being rewired by these devices, is there any way to reverse the damage? Well, yes, absolutely. There's hope for your brain and mine as well. Just like your brain can recover after a period of unhealthy eating, your brain possesses an incredible ability to heal itself when given the right conditions. Within 72 hours, just 3 days of reducing your digital consumption, your brain begins a remarkable restoration process. But these first 3 days, well, that's like any junkie. You're not going to be feeling very good. It's not going to be a walk in the park. I want you to know that I get it. I know what you're going through. Just like that addict twitching for his fix, that constant pull to check your phone cranks up the anxiety when you're away from social media. And these feelings, they can be really hard to resist. That's because your brain is literally craving those quick hits of stimulation. But here's the good news. You can reset your brain with the 21-day dopamine reset protocol. Let me explain. Just as your body craves nutrition-rich food after too much junk, your brain now hungers for genuine, unstimulated rewards. This isn't about throwing your phone in the ocean. Let's face it, in today's world, that's just not something you can do. It's about focusing on strategically reducing your phone time so you can reset your sensitivity. Here's how the reset protocol works. Days 1 through 3, they're the withdrawal phase. This is where your brain detoxes from the constant dopamine hits that made you accustomed to picking up your phone. Like with any type of withdrawal, this isn't going to be easy. You're going to feel irritable, restless, anxious as your brain craves stimulation. Don't worry though, that's just the reset process kicking in. On days 4 through 14, you can move into the recalibration phase. Now that your brain is clearing the dopamine fog, it starts rewiring itself. This is when you notice everyday activities like spending time outdoors or chatting face-to-face with other people, real people, start to feel rewarding again. Finally, in days 15 through 21, you're in the rewiring phase. By now, your brain has begun finding satisfaction in less stimulated, more genuine rewards. Healthy digital habits are solidifying, and that constant phone checking impulse will feel like a distant memory. But to get to the rewiring stage, you're going to have to make it through that withdrawal phase. And so here's what you're going to need to do to successfully pass through that first part, those challenging days. Start by deleting all non-essential apps. Next, turn off all notifications except for calls and texts from important people. Limit your recreational screen time to 2 hours or less. Here's something that absolutely is essential. Create text-free zones, especially in your bedroom. And you don't need all that phone to wake you up, by the way. You can get a real alarm clock. Make sure you designate tech-free times like meal times and after the first hour after you wake up. As you transition into the recalibration phase, introduce alternative rewards like exercise, nature walks, in-person social connections, creative hobbies, or that book that's been collecting dust for all that time. Consistency is key here. The results of this process can be transformative. Jamie's sleep quality, it improved by 40% after just 2 weeks. Marcus went from checking his phone every 15 minutes to being able to stay focused on his work for 90-minute stretches. Nearly everyone who uses this 21-day protocol reports decreased anxiety, and many experience surprising creative breakthroughs. What's happening inside? Well, your dopamine receptors regain sensitivity, your prefrontal cortex strengthens, and your brain's natural reward pathways reset, allowing you to find genuine satisfaction in everyday experiences again. As we reflect on our digital habits, here's a truth worth embracing. Life is a struggle sometimes. Dr. Lemke points out that if we could admit that we can take comfort in knowing that we're not alone in the day-to-day struggle, paradoxically, then we'd be happier. Ain't that the truth? Breaking free from tech addiction isn't about superhuman willpower. It's about understanding how our brains actually work. Dr. Romano reminds us that we have to have a healthy balance with our phones before we fall too deeply into this addiction. This balance is exactly what our 21-day protocol helps you build. As we come to an end, here's something that we all should keep in mind. Even tech pioneers like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs limited their kids' screen time. I want you to know you can break your cell phone addiction. Start small. Try turning off just one notification today. Your brain is waiting to show you how amazing life can be when you're not constantly changing that dopamine hit. We can all take back our lives and beat the cell phone addiction. Who's ready to join me? Okay, one last thing. If you're enjoying this content, please hit that subscribe button. It's a quick and free way to support us, and we really appreciate it. And don't forget to check out the links to social media, podcast, website. All of that's down below. Thanks again for being part of our community. Let's make every day a little more mindful and a lot more amazing. Until the next time, this is Will Deek wishing you only success.